Hi, this is Amy Magyar with FromWithin Coaching. I'm honored today to have Coach Augusta Good-Crawl with me as well. And we are going to unpack the CliftonStrengths of Analytical today.
Good morning, Amy. How are you?
Good, I'm well. I am so well. I feel like I just spoke in very analytical terms. It was very sort of direct and very boom, boom, boom. No, I'm very well, and I'm excited for this. Neither one of us, full disclosure, neither one of us has Analytical, but both of us have worked with clients with Analytical. How I'm gonna kick it off to you first, and then I'll follow up with you. If you could describe Analytical in your terms to our listeners, how would you describe it?
Yeah, well, I actually really love this strength. It's obviously in the strategic domain, and I think people with analytical really are truth seekers. They're very, very information, data driven. They're really trying to get to the core of something, get to the essence,
Ooh, nice.
just that simple truth of something. And so they can really take a lot of information and distill it down. And so it's just a way of the way they see and understand their world within the strategic domain, but it's so information, numbers, data driven.
Right. And to that point, I think I would, when that truth telling is so, truth seeking, and then they wind up being a truth teller. What's coming up for me based on what you just said is this idea that, like, for them, the data doesn't lie.
Exactly.
Like for them, that's the most important part about doing all of that collection and that is that it's gut feeling or not, that's not important. It's
right.
What is really happening. Evidence based. Yes.
Yeah. They're the ones that, like you said, instead of the gut feeling and are going to like jump off the cliff, they're like, whoa, wait a minute. We need to like really look at this.
Yes.
And we need to figure out what is the evidence that this is something we should do or something we shouldn't do.
Yes.
It's a totally different way of interacting with information, and
And to that point, it is information is king, right? For them, that is absolutely, it helps them reason. They seek that truth through it. That research, that is key for them to help them really understand the world or what's happening for somebody coming at them. And so the one of the, I think, if you're wondering if your partner or you are analytical, ask yourself, do they ask a lot of questions? I actually think they ask more questions than even coaches ask. And that's what we do for a living.
Yes.
And it's questions, I think, that are seeking questions. They're not judging questions intentionally, right? Though it's not an intention to judge. It may at times sound like it may be. And so that's something for that analytical person to be aware of.
Yeah, blind spot for sure.
Right.
How they can come across as almost either skeptical or dismissive, because they're really just asking a very direct question. So that is definitely, when we talk to these folks high in analytical, how can we help them develop their skill and almost like soften it a bit when they're interacting with others, so that they're more inviting someone into their process, and instead of coming across as this questioning or this dismissive type.
It's so interesting because being around somebody that's analytical, it is so powerful to watch them sort of pick at something or pull something out, right? So if they can show up almost as teachers and maybe scientists or experiment, it's much more inviting than doubters, right?
Absolutely, and doubters.
They're not doubting you. They're not doubting what you said. They're curious. They want to know more. And that is, for a group of people that are just analytical together, I mean, my gosh, that's how we solve, so many of the world's, questions and things like that. But knowing that it is high on, it's, a strategic theme, is that the analytical person has to remember, probably in the room, not as many people have that same strength, and that is going to be the analytical of all groups. I think it's important for them to look at some of their other strengths to make sure that they can maybe soften, like you said,
Absolutely.
soften, not do less of the analytical, but
Right.
understand that others don't process that same way.
Right, right. Analytical, actually, I think it's only like 12% have it in their top 5. And so, when we look at how people work together or in a relationship or connect, definitely helping somebody with analytical utilize some of their other top 5s, but just again, invite others into their process, how they are, getting to the information that they need. And that word softening is I use that only because I have worked with analytical before, and it can seem very direct, the questions. And it's not a doubting, like you said, it's a true curiosity to get to a truth or to get to the bottom of something, because that's how they navigate their world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. They often come across very wise and thorough and logical. And again, that's the beauty of this,
Right.
of this theme and the strength, is that they are, they don't appear to make fast decisions, or I shouldn't say fast decisions, rush decisions, illogical decisions. But, I don't know that I've ever come across somebody with analytical and empathy, but what a group of, left and right brain kind of ambidexterity is being able to understand both sides. And I think, with analytical, with it being something that shows up less common than some of the other strengths in top 5, is just even for the analytical person to understand that and maybe, celebrate that, but also
Absolutely.
understand that, there's many people that need much less information.
Yeah, yeah. And that is really true. And I think, obviously the purpose of us when we work with clients on strength, helping them become aware of and learning how to understand their strengths so that they can also find, success and find ways that they they navigate the world the best. And that is, analytical is being only 12% is a fantastic strength to have. If you're working with a team or you're, I as a scientist, my past history and education is in science, and I just can see, everyone in the lab, just, some of them, that's the beauty. They're just really going to dedicate themselves to tackling that information and finding whatever it is that they're hypothesizing. So it's
right.
We need these analytical folks.
They're incredibly focused to find that truth and to find that needle in the haystack and things like that. And that's, part of it can be on sort of the flip side of, if you have somebody in your life that's analytical, or you're a leader and you have someone on your team that's analytical, is that they may never seem satisfied, that they don't have enough information, or that even when perhaps they find the truth that they were seeking, that's the truth today. And it may be different than even tomorrow. And so, as a leader, if I had someone that's analytical, or a child that was analytical, I would truly celebrate the effort, and let them know that this was, the natural curiosity got us to what we found today. And then that really is enough, because that desire to keep wanting more and more and more could get obsessive. And that's where, when we do strength styles, right, it could get up a little bit high, and keep you from really, what is the beauty of finding the truth, of seeking the truth, is finding it, and we hope sharing it.
Absolutely. And the words that just came to me were analysis paralysis, because that is something that can absolutely,
oh boy,
become a roadblock to somebody who is really, really working, over dialed in their analytical skills, and so, yeah, helping others really see and work with someone, and helping it, somebody with that high analytical strength really dive into to the evidence and do that kind of work. I mean, I'm thinking like on a team or in a group, this is the person who is going to be able to find trends or to really dive into just lots of information and help move, somebody, a group effort or a team forward in that. And but obviously not giving them too much, because that analysis paralysis will absolutely take over.
I'm going to jump in. You and I both have strategic as one of our top 5 strengths. I'm curious for you how, if you've either worked with or come up against someone with analytical, where your strategic and perhaps their analytical have been in conflict. And if I describe strategic as you are able to see things very quick, you seek the truth, but you're actually able to see it quite quickly, and not need as many facts and data and research. So that's the one side of strategic, right? Versus analytical, which is very thorough, no gut feeling, and it takes a little bit longer. Nothing wrong with that, but they are quite different. Has that ever come up for you, whether it's with someone that you know personally or even professionally as a coach, as a strategic coach that has somebody with analytical?
Yeah. The only thing that comes to my mind right now, and it was, I'm becoming aware of it more as we're speaking about this, was a client who was very high in analytical, and really I appreciated the way that he interacted with the material that we were working on, and really just wanted that deep dive into just really finding the perfect truth for him. And I actually, now that I think about it, at first it was, he worked it and reworked it, and I really appreciated that, and kind of gave him the time for that. And that was that's what comes to my mind.
The beauty is that he really went deep. He didn't surface. He didn't just skim or surface. He went in.
Yeah, he needed to find his own truth.
Yeah, and wasn't scared to keep digging or keep sort of stirring and keep seeing what was there.
Formulating and reformulating until it came and he knew it when it was, it was cool. It was really, I appreciate that way of interacting with information.
I had a situation professionally as being someone with high end strategic with an analytical client, where I remember, I think it was during our exploratory session. So we hadn't even agreed to work with each other, but we were getting to know each other to see if we were good fits for each other. And he stopped and said, "How much research have you done about me?" And I was like, actually, I don't tend to do pre-research on my clients because I like to keep my curiosity, sort of clean and clear and kind of see what comes for me. And he goes, "Yeah, no, I don't mean to doubt you, but you just seem to know too much about me already. And we've only been talking for 5 to 10 minutes. And as a strategic, it's very easy for me to sort of connect dots, see some things, sort of get a sense. And I also listen for a living. So, listening to somebody for 5 minutes could be like somebody else listening for an hour. You get a lot in that 5 minutes. But what I realized almost immediately was that my processing speed was so much quicker and different than his. And that I needed to not slow down, but I needed to meet him where he was for his comfort level of me as the coach, of allowing him to ask me questions, which is a little different when you're coaching. Traditionally, coaches ask our clients a lot more questions than they ask of us. At first, when I was working with him, I was sort of put off by some of the questions. And, I think I remember saying something to him about, what we're looking at creates a lot of doubt. I'm afraid that your doubt in me may get in the way of us being able to look at the doubt you're facing in your life. And he said, oh, I don't doubt you. I don't doubt you. And that was so good. And I was, as a baby coach, it was so important for me to hear that and go, oh, this is nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
This is what he needed.
Yeah. This goes back to that, understanding their process, and like, if, working with someone with high analytical, how can they invite others into that process?
There you go. And
convey that it's not a doubt. And maybe, I don't know what kind of questions that would be. Maybe saying, may I offer some feedback, or may I ask you a question about this, instead of, that's a softening maybe, instead of just this straight question. I know that's just what comes to my mind, but it's a real thing, isn't it? Because it's not doubt.
No.
This is what I need to do in order to get to where I need to understand and, deal with the information.
I'm going to give a tip to those with analytical. It's a coaching technique that we use as coaches. Very rarely will a good coach use the word why in a question. Why did you do that? Why do you think that? Why do you think that happened? The why. So I'll get on my soapbox for a second here. Please excuse me, Augusta. If the facts are right, here's a little data for the analytical. If the facts are right, by the age of 3 years old, we've heard the word no 100,000 times, right? No, don't climb on that. No, don't eat that. No. So that's by age 3. You can imagine by the time we reach, my age of 48, the number of times I've heard no, right? So every time I hear no, almost like a wall, gets higher and higher. One of the things, I think the second most used word by a parent when they're raising their children is why. Why did you do that? Why did you hit your sister? Why do you think that? And so, no kidding, when they ask us why, why, mommy, is it like that? Why did you do that? So they parrot it back to us.
Yeah.
Human beings, when we ask human beings why, even if it's a good thing that we're asking them, is that they tend to get a little defensive.
Yeah, I can feel that in my body.
Right? Like you're like, right? Why?
Yeah.
So as coaches, we rarely say, why do you think that is? We may say, what is it about the situation that you think may have triggered you? Yeah. So we when, but the why, we get to the why without actually using the why. Yeah. And it's because the why is often trigger, right?
Words, yeah.
For analytical people, that word why is like, that is their whole being. So they can use that word, but what's so interesting for them to know is when you use why, it immediately could create that wall. Yeah. And so be thinking about the what, the when, the so what, the now what, the how. Those are things that are maybe a little softer than just a direct, why did you do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that can add to that sound of doubt or curiosity. Doubt or judgment.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Or skepticism for sure.
Yeah.
Totally.
I'll step down off my soapbox. Thank you for letting me share that. Going on that rant. But Augusta, to wrap up, any other thoughts on analytical for those that have it, for those that are around people with analytical, and how do we just celebrate them home?
Oh my goodness. I think, talking or understanding them, and for the analytical understanding, again, like how to connect with others in a way that doesn't cause a defense reaction, because that is, a true question. Well, how did you do that? Why did you do that? And for someone who is working with an analytical person or has, in relationship with one, just really understanding where they're coming from. Yeah. And how can both of you lean in and keep that connection with that understanding of each other's strengths or that one, you know, person's strength.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. It is
We
a
need our
gift.
analytical people.
Yes. Yeah. It is such a gift to be around a thinker like that because of the depth, of the detail, of the natural curiosity that is just, it's part of what you and I do for a living, is to stay curious. And they bring this to this whole other level because they are so, they want to be able to, I'm going to hold on to this piece of paper. They want to be able to hold on to something that gives them that stability.
Yeah.
And in a world like we're dealing with right now, in terms of a lot of fear and emotion, it's still important for us to be able to go and live, you know, sort of go with gut reaction and gut feeling. But there is a beauty in lessons learned. How do we learn lessons? We go back and we research. We go back and we find data. What happened? How can we move forward from this? And so I think there's a beauty in that analytic.
Absolutely. And there's a
mind.
trust in that. Whatever
Huge.
data that does come forth, that I would know, you know, as a scientist, that they have people high on with analytical are not stopping till they get to the truth. And so for me, I find a trust in that.
Nice. Oh, solid, dependable, and trustworthy, not doubting. Love it.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Oh, Augusta, thank you for unpacking Analytical with me. And,
super fun.
you know, for those that have Analytical that are viewing this video, you may need more. And of course you do, right? So what we recommend is, this video is not designed to be in lieu of a coaching session. We always recommend, if you've done CliftonStrengths or you're thinking about doing CliftonStrengths, to do it with one of our coaches or with a coach. Unpack it. This is a little bit more in addition to some of the information that's out there. We celebrate the Analytical's desire to do research on CliftonStrengths. And what you'll find is, actually on the CliftonStrengths website, there is an enormous amount of research and data, because the CliftonStrengths is owned by the Gallup organization, which is a research company. And so they have a lot of information. We highly recommend you go dive in and enjoy that research side to see how they came to create the assessment and help you understand that you have Analytical. So I will leave it at that. Any other parting words?
Just, you know, for anyone who does have Analytical, you know, talking to one of us would be so wonderful to see how it works with the constellation, because it's not just having the strength and isolating each strength and talking about them, but it's really looking at how they work with not only your background and your life experiences, but in context of those other 4 top dominant strengths. So that's what's so super exciting about working with people.
I love it. Thank you, Augusta. Thank you to those that listened in, and to the Analyticals. Keep researching, keep staying curious.
Thanks, Amy.